Tottenham are targeting a double swoop for Everton duo Richarlison and Anthony Gordon, according to Lyle Thomas of Sky Sports. Tottenham are, look, we know we're looking to try and bring in an attacker, but it could be two, and it could be the two from Everton. We'll also touch on the latest on our pursuit of a left centre-back, which, according to Alasdair Gold, has turned strongly towards RB Leipzig defender Josko Gvardiol. Before we do get into that and to an analysis of our new target, Anthony Gordon, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you get notified every time we upload or go live, so you can be kept right up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business throughout the remainder of this window. We got Pura, Tony, some channel members in here. We got Ross as well, says loving the transfer streams. I appreciate that, Ross. We got plenty of people in the chat already, and let's go into the report from Lyle Thomas. He has said that Tottenham are targeting a package deal for Everton duo Richarlison and Anthony Gordon, and he has said that Everton are bracing themselves for a bid for the two players. This is an exclusive to Lyle Thomas and to Sky Sports. And look, it's not exactly surprising. I was on Last Word on Spurs last week with host Ricky and Lyle Thomas himself, who said that via this quote put up from a Spurs web on Twitter. He said it's a very interesting one with regards to Richarlison, and he's certainly not the only Everton player that Spurs like. He went on to say, as far as I understand, there are not clubs that are queuing up for Richarlison at the moment. Everton are keen to do a deal, and clubs do know that, but here we are, and it's not transpired yet, and that could be about to change this week. As we know, Everton's financial situation means they need to make sales before the end of the financial year, which is the 30th of June, which is 3 days away. So this is one that could heat up very, very quickly. Now, it is worth noting that Lyle Thomas also said earlier this morning, Sky Sports said earlier this morning, that Chelsea are considering rivaling Tottenham for Richarlison. Now, the hope that we had in the last couple of days was that the other teams who were interested in Richarlison, Arsenal were focusing on Rafinha and Chelsea were focusing on Raheem Sterling, which opened the door for Spurs to go in and try and complete that deal. However, Chelsea, depending on what is going on with the Sterling negotiations, could be set to maybe put themselves in the race for Richarlison. And as I tweeted out earlier today when that news came out, Tottenham probably need to get this one done quickly. They need to wrap it up because from a Richarlison point of view, I think if he was given a choice of Tottenham or Chelsea, he probably chooses Chelsea, and I'm not too sure that I blame him because they're in the last decade or so, of course, have been a much more stable, much more successful club. Now, the stability could be in question at the moment, but they still have a very strong squad, and they're looking to invest heavily in that squad with their new owners this window. He would also be guaranteed more game time if he went to Chelsea with Romelu Lukaku's return to Inter Milan. So if we want to prevent a potential battle with Chelsea, if we want to put ourselves in the driving seat for this one, it's one that we need to do, and we need to pursue very, very quickly. The caller says, Mr. Hayes, do we have a Hayes we go? Certainly not yet. Certainly not yet. But look, like with the Yves Bissouma deal, this could be a lot closer than we're hearing. It could be a lot closer than we think. From what's out there in the press, it's certainly not. But who knows? Really, who knows? And like I said, from an Everton perspective, they would much, much rather, almost need to have this deal done by the end of this week, by the 30th of June. So hopefully it's one that can move along quickly. Michael Bridge, also Sky Sports, was on air talking about this deal, and he said that Everton's potential move for Harry Winks is separate from Tottenham's plan to target a package deal for Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. And look, I think Matt Law said earlier last week as well that Lucas Moura could potentially be included in a deal to sign Richarlison, and it would have made sense if there was another player involved in this deal that could be what is holding it up, because it makes a deal twice as complicated, it makes a deal twice as difficult to complete. And I think what we were so keen and so stubborn in checking which Tottenham players could potentially be going the other way, that we didn't really entertain the possibility that it could be an Everton player joining Richarlison in the move to North London. And I just do want to mention as well that this definitely isn't the first time we've heard of Anthony Gordon's name being mentioned this window. Mike McGrath reported on the 11th of May, so about a month and a half ago, that Tottenham have been closely watching Everton's survival bid and have an interest in Richarlison, Anthony Gordon and Ben Godfrey ahead of the next window. So Godfrey may be a name that's dropped out of that one. That's the wrong Anthony report for Anthony from Ajax. But yeah, I think the Sun mentioned interest back in early May as well for Anthony Gordon potentially coming to, or potentially being of interest to Tottenham. So like I say, this definitely isn't a new name that is out there, but in terms of how advanced Lyle Thomas is claiming it is that Tottenham are targeting this deal and that Everton are bracing themselves for the bid, that is definitely a development, and one that I suppose, given how our focus and attention was elsewhere maybe that's why it's come as a bit of a surprise. But look, let's look into Anthony Gordon. Let's see what type of player Tottenham are targeting. I see it mentioned there, Alex asking, Gordon has been earmarked, surely he's been earmarked as a right wing back. I personally don't think so. I think he will be more as a winger, which is where he played primarily for Everton last season off the left wing and at times off the right wing as well. I have an article here from Total Football Analysis talking about Anthony Gordon towards the end of last season, dubbing him a bright spark in a difficult season for Everton. They say in a season which has seen Everton fall to the brink of relegation, Anthony Gordon's emergence has been a shining light for the blue half of Merseyside. After spending the part of last season on loan at Preston North End, so that was in 2020-2021, this season has been a breakthrough season. The 21-year-old has made 33 appearances across all competitions, scoring 4 goals and getting 3 assists. So 33 appearances for a player. Look, 21 isn't the youngest, but in terms of his development and actually once he made that first appearance in the first team, how much of a constant feature he was in there is very impressive. And 7 goal contributions again for a player that young, you have to take as a positive thing. You know, he's not going to be scoring or assisting every week. He's going to have to find his feet and find what he needs to do in the Premier League, and he seems to be doing that quite quickly. The fearless winger is a product of the club's youth academy. He has established himself as a pivotal member of the Everton first team and has featured in the last 3 England under-21 squads. I assume that would have been 4 with the latest international duty after the end of the season. With the England under-21, at this time he had played 200 minutes out of a possible 270, scoring 3 goals. In the Scout Report, we'll provide a tactical and statistical analysis which focuses on the attacking and defensive phases of Anthony Gordon's game. Now, we looked at Richarlison in the last stream and what he does on and off the ball, and it was kind of what we were focused on more the season before the one that's just ended. Richarlison, what he was asked to do off the ball, I think was very similar to what he will be asked to do off the ball for Tottenham. So there's a lot of familiarity there, or a lot of similarity between what could be demanded of these players and what they may be looking to get themselves into at Tottenham. Matt B with Super Chat, thanks a million for that, Matt. Great name as well. It says, thank you for your content. Such a great lad. #proud. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you very much. So with Anthony Gordon, on positioning and off-the-ball movement, Anthony Gordon has shown he can be equally effective playing on either wing for Everton this season. Again, that crucial versatility that Tottenham will be demanding from any forward player we bring in this window. Both Rafa Benitez and Frank Lampard have used his versatility throughout this season and have switched him between flanks on a regular basis. This heat map shows the average position that Anthony Gordon has picked up. Positionally, you can see his movement and the spaces he likes to occupy. I was going to hold up that heat map just so you can see it, but he's very heavily involved on both wings, so you can see across the left and the right hand side. Very rarely coming in centrally. You know, he kind of prefers to stay out wide, which may not fit into Tottenham style very, very well, but as a right winger who plays off the left hand side, it shouldn't be that difficult to kind of train into him how he can cut in off that side and be effective coming in onto that right foot. I think he scored a goal potentially against Manchester United in the reverse way, coming off the right hand side onto his left foot. So he is very strong on both feet as well. Whether Anthony Gordon is playing on the right or the left, there is a lot of variation in his movement. He can move effectively between the outside channels and the half spaces, picking up the ball in pockets of space that make it very difficult to defend against. He has very good football intelligence for a player of his age group. When Everton look to attack his off the ball movement into specific areas of the pitch, is very quick and decisive, often disrupting his opponent's defence. Traditionally, a winger's movement is judged on how well he moves the ball vertically behind the fullback. Anthony Gordon has the pace and power to run in behind. However, what is very notable about his movement is his ability to move across the defence and into spaces. This pulls defenders from their defensive setup, and that would be something that I think would help us with our inability to break down low blocks against certain teams. I know we always say that Burnley style, of course they've been relegated, but teams who could be playing like that in the Premier League next season, when you have a very stubborn, a very rigid defensive line that you're coming up against, you need your attacking line to be the complete opposite. You know, if you're very rigid and stubborn and your left winger plays out on the left, your right winger plays out on the right, that's going to be extremely easy for this low block team to defend against, because it can effectively be a man-marking system. Whereas if they implement that man-marking system and you have players running in between the lines and trying to pick up those pockets of space, you're going to dislodge different parts of that team and you're going to cause a bit of confusion there. You know, if Gordon is playing out on the right wing and he's up against, let's say, Charlie Taylor for Burnley, he's on that right wing. If he then starts to cut inside, the question comes, does Charlie Taylor follow him? Or is he passed over to the next man? Is he passed over to Ben Mee? And whichever one the answer is, that causes space for other players. If Charlie Taylor follows, the right back then has a lot of space down that right hand side to get in behind Burnley. If it's passed on to Ben Mee, There's then one less defender in the box marking, whether it's, let's say it's at Tottenham, if it's Harry Kane in the box, if it's someone running in late like a Rodrigo Bentancur, if it's Son coming in off the far side. So that movement causes so much confusion and so much questions amongst the opposition defence that it can be something as simple as that opens up a pocket of space to allow a low block to be broken down. And Tottenham needs someone who can help in those situations. There's a few examples there of Anthony Gordon's movement. He, kind of running inside, then when the defender is dragged in, bursting out the other side and getting in behind in the space that he has opened up by his own movement. Another one, he's just running in between the space between the two centre backs, picking up a late ball from Anthony Iwobi. Once in possession of the ball, Anthony Gordon attempts to show the same composure and intelligence as he does when out of possession, especially when he is dribbling and attacking against defenders. This data analysis compares the number of dribbles the wide players in the Premier League attempt compared to the number of dribbles they have completed for the 2021-22 campaign. It shows the productivity and effectiveness of Anthony Gordon's dribbling ability when compared to all other wide players. Each player within the analysis has played over 900 Premier League minutes. So Anthony Gordon, those graphs where everyone who's very close to the top right does a lot better. He's very close to that top right. There's no one in, I might as well show it again, there's no one like right up there in that corner, but you can see Anthony Gordon up just there. So that's Anthony Gordon right there. And you can see this area over here is fairly empty, but in terms of that curve of players, I suppose, that are coming right towards the top, he seems to be doing good in that. Jace's very average player. I mean, he's 21 years of age. He's 21 years of age and only really has one season of Premier League football under his belt, if you can even count it as a full season. So he's average maybe in the sense that he wouldn't go straight into this Tottenham lineup. He's average in the sense that he's not as good as the other options we have there, but he has so much development to do. He has so much more work to do in his game. But at the age of 21, that's not a concern. That's not a problem. If you look at Brian Hill, we'll check an age comparison there. Brian Hill, there actually is I think 3 days in the difference. I think Brian Hill is 3 days older than Anthony Gordon. So I mean, if you're going to compare the two of those, I think in terms of a Premier League player, Gordon is better than Hill because he has that experience and has shown he can do well in that division. But moving on through this, the data shows that Anthony Gordon attempts on average just over 6 dribbles per 90. He plays whilst having a success rate of 63.5%. I see people mentioning the Clement Longley news from Sport. We'll touch on that in a minute when we speak of Josko Gvardiol. His success rate is the third highest in the Premier League this season. So Anthony Gordon, the third highest dribble success rate in the Premier League this season. Considering he's in the top 10 for the number of dribbles attempted, this is very encouraging for a 21-year-old experiencing his first full season of Premier League football. So when you have those players right up at the highest amount of dribbles attempted, you would assume that naturally their success rate drops a little bit. Like if you have a player who's taken 5-6 shots per game, they may score 1 or 2, but that's a much lower success rate than a player who takes 1 shot per game and maybe scores every second game. So with the higher attempt rate, you expect the success rate to drop, but it doesn't. He's the third highest in the Premier League. Although this part of his game is still raw, he shows particularly good spatial awareness when dribbling. When he picks up the ball, you can always see how and where he intends to attack the opposition's defence. He is very decisive and often shows himself to be a quick thinker, which is vital for any wide player playing at this level. I think that ability to think quickly on the ball is a concern we have about Jed Spence, because he probably doesn't have that in abundance, whereas Anthony Gordon might. Of course, different positions, but there's another example here of his good spatial awareness to get in behind Johnny Otto, another against Leicester there as well. Statistically, his crossing is not as productive as his dribbling stats, but Anthony Gordon has incredibly good technical ability when it comes to crossing the ball. Whether it be on the right flank, the left flank from a dead ball, or a moving ball, Gordon has shown he not only has the technical ability, but has shown he has the creativity to become a valuable player when delivering from wide areas. He averages 2.89 crosses per 90 minutes and is successful with 30.77%. Sources TV says Jack Clarke Part 2. Look, they're a similar profile of player. They're a similar style of player. But what Anthony Gordon has above Jack Clarke is that he has done it on the Premier League level. Even when Tottenham signed Jack Clarke, he had been quite poor for 3 or 4 months, admittedly because of a very concerning injury he suffered one day. But Anthony Gordon has done it in the Premier League for a season. He hasn't set the world alight. He's not the next Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not the next Heung-min Son. But he's had a standout season, and a season where he's gained a lot of experience in the league, but also a lot of praise in the Premier League, playing in a team that nearly got relegated, that nearly went down, in a team where the experienced players that you'd expect drag them out of these positions weren't doing it. There were certain times when Anthony Gordon did do that. So I think comparing him to Colin Mavericks, comparing him to Jack Clarke just is a little bit harsh, because he has that really key attribute that those other don't have, which is that Premier League experience. Lazy 8, Nick with the super chat says, why would Everton be willing to lose this kid because of their financial fair play issues? I don't get it. First of all, thanks very much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Look, it may be a case of Tottenham coming in and Gordon wanting that move. It could be because of the financial fair play issues. Tottenham may just put up an offer that Everton can't refuse. There could be a number of different reasons, and there's nothing so far to say that Everton are willing to let him go, or there's nothing to say that Everton are in a position where they will accept the bid. At the moment, it's just that Tottenham are preparing a bid, or Tottenham are looking for a package deal and Everton are expecting a bid. So there's nothing to say this is likely or anything at the moment, but it's something that Tottenham are pursuing. But there are potential reasons why Everton might have to let him go rather than be willing to let him go. But I'm sure we'll get everything we need to know on that over the coming days. So when compared to the other wide players in the league, Gordon's performance is on the average point for crossing, which at 21, I wouldn't class as a concern. However, when providing analysis on an individual player crossing data, the statistics must be put into context, as there can be mitigating factors. When a player is crossing the ball, it is his job to cross the ball to the required area. It is then the job of the players attacking the penalty area to run to the area and meet the cross. With Dominic Calvert-Lewin missing most of the season with injury problems and Richarlison being injured at various points, Everton's attacking play has been very stagnant and inconsistent. Everton's wide players have suffered because of this, as there has been no fluidity within their attack. So where you would expect an Anthony Gordon to become familiar with the movement within the box of a Calvert-Lewin, of a Richarlison, and to kind of gain that experience, that partnership, that relationship, to be able to link up well, not only that understanding, but actually having good players in that box. He maybe didn't have that as much at Everton last season. Espen with the super chat, thank you very much for that, says Gvardiol, Dyer, Romero with Basuma in front, and that Bentancur into that as well, and Antonio Conte is building a very, very nice team indeed, but the Gvardiol one, I do have to admit, is looking quite unlikely, but is the priority for Tottenham at the moment. There's two more images there with Gordon's crossing into good areas, but there's no attacking player really there. His defensive ability, the 21-year-old winger has shown himself to be just as important for Everton when defending. His energy, pace and determination all play an important factor when he looks to close down the opposition's play. His ability to win the ball and pressure the opposition is at a very good standard for a player within his age range. Crucial for Tottenham. SOF says, so underwhelming, man. Look, it's not an underwhelming signing for me, because this isn't going to be a number one starter. Anthony Gordon isn't going to be a number one name on Tottenham's team sheet if this deal does go through. He'll be brought in, like I've said a few times, Tottenham have their specific targets that they have identified and that they need to improve on in this window. We've already bought two of them, in a left wing back and a centre midfielder. But we have left centre back, right wing back, and a versatile forward. We have these set positions that we're looking to bring in. Richarlison is still the player that we need in the forward position, but if different opportunities arise throughout the window, Tottenham will be willing to take a look at them and to investigate the likelihood of those happening. I'm pretty sure Christian Eriksen was one of those players, and I would absolutely put Anthony Gordon into that situation as well. There's no way he's going to come in and kind of be the first name on the team sheet ahead of Kulusevski or ahead of Son. That isn't the case. As a player for the future and as a rotation option, Gordon is a very good option. He really is, and he's so much developing still to do. And put him in a team managed by Antonio Conte, give him the training with Heung-min Son, with Dejan Kulusevski. That game is going to increase in ability, in the footballing knowledge he has so much. So it's not one that will completely transform our season, but it's one with maybe the next couple of years in mind and what he can offer in the future. So I would disagree that it's underwhelming. Pressing in wide areas has become an integral tactic for many teams around the world. The data analysis measures how many interceptions per 90 the wide players have made in the Premier League this season. It's been measured against the defensive statistics whilst taking possession into account. A player can only make a defensive contribution when he does not have the ball, blah, blah, blah. So we see another graph here talking about the wide players in the Premier League and their defensive ability. So Anthony Gordon, if I can find him, is just there. If that will focus a little bit. So right up at the top right of that graph, I'm ranking very, very well amongst the wide players in the Premier League. Now again, of course, that does need to take into context. You have Emile Smith-Rowe there, for example, who might be playing in a more central area, so isn't asked to do as much pressing, because maybe the forward in front of him would do it. You have Gabriel Jesus in there as well. You have players maybe like Dwight McNeil, Johan Gudmundsson, who, well, I was going to say play with Burnley, so maybe wouldn't be right up there, but they're right up at the top. So again, there's a lot of context to take into that, but it looks good on the four of it. Under Rafa Benitez, Everton were a defensive team with structured attacking play. They look to keep compact and remain in shape. Since Lampard took charge, the team's defensive phase of play has seen more variety. There have been games that have also looked to keep the shape and remain compact and played with a low block. However, there have also been times when Everton have looked to press high. Although they've not pressed most efficiently at times, they have played higher up the pitch and showed more aggression in winning the ball back. This suits Anthony Gordon. Mark says, would you rather Gordon coming off the bench or some name we've never heard of? Exactly. Anthony Gordon is involved in 7.8 defensive duels per 90 minutes. A defensive duel is when they try to dispossess an opposition player to stop an attack from progressing. He is the second highest in the league. Even though he's not one of the players with the highest success rate, he still wins 56.93% of his defensive duels. And the conclusion from Total Football Analysis is that a modern day winger can no longer afford to be one-dimensional, which I would argue is where Bryan Hill is struggling. They cannot be a player that just occupies the space on either flank. They can not only become involved in the play when a 1v1 opportunity presents itself or via a counter-attack. Modern day wingers must be able to come and join the play and create their own space with their movement and play an integral role in the first line of defence. Anthony Gordon possesses all these qualities. He has been Everton's standout performer this season and has been a highlight for England's under-21 team. Excuse me. But yeah, look, that's a positive analysis of Gordon, and admittedly that's only one analysis. I'm sure there's going to be weaknesses in his games. There's going to be kind of naivety that comes with how young he is and the lack of first team football that he has, but there's a lot to work with there. There is a lot to work with there, and there's no price that's been mentioned yet. Alasdair Gold has just said that Tottenham are looking at the potential of bringing Everton's young winger Anthony Gordon to the club and could look at signing both him and Richarlison. So Alasdair Gold confirming that news that came out as an exclusive from Lyle Thomas of Sky Sports today, saying that Tottenham are looking to bring them in, and we'll take a quick look at this article from Alasdair Gold to see if we get any more context on where this deal is at or what the state of play is. So he says that the 21-year-old left winger had a breakout season for Everton with 40 appearances after returning from a loan spell. He notched 4 goals and 3 assists last season, helping them evade relegation. Spurs are looking to bolster their homegrown numbers, with Dele Alli having left for Everton this last season and Cameron Carter-Vickers departing for Celtic this summer. Everton are also attempting to sign Harry Winks, following up on long-term interest in the player, and the North London club are looking at Gordon as a potential player coming in the opposite direction. I see people mentioning 100 million in the chat. I'm not sure where that has come from. If someone has a source for that, please let me know and I'll take a look at it. Tottenham have also registered an interest in Richarlison, and the possibility of a deal for both the Brazilian and Gordon is there if Everton decide to let both go, with the latter able to provide depth on the left with Son Heung-min, replacing Steven Bergwijn, who is expected to join Ajax. And just to give a bit of context in the Steven Bergwijn situation, AD from the Netherlands have reported that Tottenham have agreed a fixed €25 million fee with Ajax for Steven Bergwijn, but once some additional bonuses included in the transfer, they confirm what we know, that Tottenham want to sign a new player before announcing Bergwijn to Ajax. Now, I'm not sure how good AD are as a source, but it is a report nonetheless that deal could potentially be agreed. Richarlison can play across the front three, according to Alasdair Gold, and crucially up front, allowing Spurs to finally have support and cover for Harry Kane. Everton have financial fair play issues, with the deadline for the end of this year arriving on June 30th, and are expected to offload players to aid their attempts to strengthen Lampard's squad for next season, with takeover talk also surrounding the club. So Alasdair Gold there confirming that Tottenham are looking for that double deal for Anthony Gordon and Richarlison. Let me know in the live chat what you think of this. SOF says they want 60 million for Richarlison. You think Gordon is going to be free? Of course he's not going to be free, but I'd be very surprised if he does cost 40 million. You know, I'll check how long's left in his contract. So he's 3 years left in his contract, so that would bump it up a little bit. But 40 million, I'm not really sure would be a realistic price for him. And to be honest, if that is what Everton are looking for, I wouldn't want that deal then. I wouldn't want to spend 40 million on a player who is, you know, one of the one of the future prospects rather than one for the team right now. I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Would you be happy with Anthony Gordon? We've got, what is this, nearly 600 people watching right now. Let me know your thoughts on this one. You can vote in the poll when it goes up in 2 seconds. So that should be there for you now. While you're waiting for that to load in, please do go down and hit that like button to show some support for the stream, and also hit that subscribe button while you're down there for more of these transfer streams throughout the summer. I'm keeping a close eye on Twitter to see if anything new comes in, but at the moment it's just Alasdair Gold and Anthony Gordon. While I'm waiting for you to have your say in that poll on Tottenham's pursuit, or reports on Anthony Gordon, Michael Bridge has said that Tottenham are interested in young English players because they need to sort out their homegrown quota. They are potentially looking at younger English players in the EFL as well. So there was links to Alex Scott from Barnsley earlier in this window, who is setting the world alight at the Under-19 European Championships, along with Alfie Devine and Dane Scarlett. Kieran says, I love Matt's accent. Thank you, Kieran. Fabrizio Romano has said that Tottenham have already had direct contacts with Richarlison's new agents. The clubs have a good relationship after the Dele Alli deal in January, so this is one that could be aided by a good relationship there between Fabio Paratici and whoever does the business at Everton. El Bobble, the Bobble has said it seems to be like Everton's version of Paul O'Keefe. They say that Tottenham have contacted Everton over Richarlison. Everton wants £60 million, and that is what they consider an exceptional offer. Aditya, thank you very much for subscribing. Everton are expecting an offer in the coming days. Football Insider, not the most reliable source, say that Richarlison has told close friends that he wants to move to Tottenham. There have been talks between Spurs and Everton this week, but the Toffees are holding out for £50 million. Michael, thank you for subscribing as well. Danny says, Matt, this could really heat up in the next few days, and it could, and there's more than one thing pointing to the fact that this could be a very big week for Tottenham in the transfer window. The first is that two of our main targets, as we found out today, two rather than one, do play with Everton, who need to make sales this week before the end of the financial year, but also the £100 million that was drawn down from the cash injection from ENIC for this summer transfer window. You're not going to take that money out unless you have a use for it. You know, unless there's something ready to go, and that I suppose could be done before a deal is agreed, but you don't want to do that and make it public unless you already have some sort of agreement in place. Because if, let's say, for example, Tottenham and Everton had agreed a £55 million deal for Richarlison, then all of a sudden it's made very public that Tottenham have £100 million in that bank account ready to go. There's no reason why, if a deal hadn't been finalised or if a deal hadn't been verbally agreed, that within those negotiations Everton could go, well, you have 100 million, so maybe we want 65. So maybe that's just a bit of positivity from me, that maybe there is something agreed already, but they wouldn't take out that money unless there was something in the pipeline, unless there was something nearly ready to go. So I would expect some sort of developments on this week, but that's purely a personal opinion. But yeah, let's see how the poll is going early on. So we have 140 votes already, and 78% of you, 77% of you now would be happy with Anthony Gordon at Tottenham. And again, I assume for everyone that does fit into what I'm saying, where it depends on the price, and I don't know if 40 million is really a sensible deal to do. Poorhouse says, hopefully Anthony Gordon can learn a lot from Perisic, as both are similar players. Absolutely, there's Perisic, Son and Kulusevski that he could learn from. Aidan says, do you think Rafinha is still an option with all the news about Richarlison and Gordon? Look, it's impossible to tell who is still an option for Tottenham, because I know it's the word of the window. I think it's being overused, but there are going to be smoke screens throughout this window. I don't think this is one of them, but it's very possible Rafinha is still an option, but I would doubt that he is. It looks like he may be on his way to Arsenal, which does kind of annoy me, but I would be surprised if Rafinha is still on that list. It seems to be that Tottenham are kind of putting their eggs in the Richarlison and Gordon basket. Excuse me. Franco, good to see you. Michael says, do you think Tottenham will sign Spence? Well, Chris Wilder thinks we will. The Middlesbrough manager thinks we will, so I suppose it would be foolish to look the other way, but I am kind of surprised that a deal hasn't been wrapped up there yet. I think there's a reason for that. We don't really know what the reason is, but I would have expected, if he was such a key target, that we would have it done by now. Speaking of key targets and Josko Gvardiol of RB Leipzig, Alasdair Gold has said that Josko Gvardiol is above Alessandro Bastoni as Tottenham's top left centre-back target on their wish list. If Spurs looked for a move this summer, it would be around £80 million. So I've seen some other reports and some other people talking about 42 million. It's going to be so much more than that. We've known that for for quite a while. 42 million for Gvardiol, just it's impossible. He signed from Zagreb 2 years ago, loaned back for a season, and just had his first season at Leipzig where he was absolutely fantastic. Looking, of course, to get into the World Cup squad for Croatia in the next World Cup. So he's going to need consistent game time. He's going to want Champions League football, and he has that at Leipzig. So I think, regardless of the price and regardless of how much money Tottenham would need to stump up to try and sign him, the most difficult part of this deal will be convincing him out of Leipzig, which is so annoying because we seem to have that problem with all of our main centre-back targets, with Pau Torres last summer and with Alessandro Bastoni this summer. There's reports from a Croatian source, I forget what they were called, but they're not reliable. I saw some Zagreb fans who I think had stuck around from slagging Tottenham when they knocked us out of the Europa League on some Spurs aggregators talking about how unreliable that source was, and not to take it seriously. They'd said that Gvardiol could actually be looking to sign a new contract at Leipzig. That is, at the moment, seems to be an unfounded claim and a report that we shouldn't really take any notice of. But regardless of whether a new contract is on the cards for him, it will be a difficult deal to try and convince both the club and player to be part of. So I'm not going to get my hopes up too much on a Gvardiol deal, but Alasdair Gold saying that he is the top target. Jason from Last Word on Spurs, I saw him reply to a tweet, and he said that he's our top target now that we know we're not going to get Bastoni. Bastoni was that top target. I think we can all say that with confidence, that he was the number one target Tottenham had. But since that's fallen apart, now it looks like Gvardiol has taken preference. Another report on that, Nabil Djellit say that Tottenham have taken information from the German club on the player. Now, Djellit was the first to report of Marseille's interest in Bryan Hill and a loan deal this summer from what I've seen. So he definitely has sources, but he was on the French side of that deal. I'd be quite surprised if he had info from the Tottenham side just because he knew about that Hill interest. So I'm not taking that too seriously, but again, it is a report out there nonetheless. Let me know in the live chat. Give me a yes if you think Tottenham will get Gvardiol. Give me a no if you think it's a deal that is just beyond the scope of Tottenham's abilities in this transfer window. Just give me a simple yes or a no. And while you're there, do make sure to hit that like button. We've got 168 likes with 625 of you watching. So let's get that number up to 200. I'm sure we can absolutely smash the 200 like mark. Jack Nicky, good to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure having you in the live chat. Jack, would you like Anthony Gordon? Would you like Gvardiol? You know your stuff. A lot of no's coming through there. If you think we can get Gvardiol. We got a yes from Sergey. We got a yes from Sukil, from Santush, from Jay, from Joe, but there's no's from Hezekiah, from Shauna, Daniel, Jack Lucas says no chance, Chris, David, Blake, Altehan, Rev, Gurney, Terry all saying no, Lil Baz as well, Tony Young with a yes. Aidan says I would love to bring in Gvardiol, but I think no, it is a bit of a stretch even for Paratici and Conte, and I agree with that. Scoops, thank you for another like, I appreciate it. Paul Chan says yes, keep the faith. I love the optimism, I love the confidence. Mentioned there as well of Gleison, Bremer and Evan and Dika, who are definitely on that list for Tottenham as well, but how high up that list at the moment is unknown. A report there from Mundo Deportivo that Atletico Madrid are plotting a move to sign Tottenham defender Japhet Tanganga. We'll see how that one goes. One that I'm expecting to see some more news on this week is Ndombele to Galatasaray. I think we might see that one get into the English media soon, if there is truth to it, which could be a very good move for Tottenham. Freeing up £200,000 on that wage bill a week is going to be a big move. I'm sure we'll get a bit of money back from it as well. Of course, nowhere near the 60 million that we paid, but money back in nonetheless. Santush says Gvardiol is going to be one of the best centre backs in the world. We need to do whatever we can to get him, and I agree on that. My kind of fear with before we get to that, Jack and Nicky with the super chat. Jack, you are a living legend. Thank you very much for that. Says Anthony Gordon is a good homegrown replacement for Bergwijn. Gvardiol is my second choice, but some rate him higher than Bastoni. Well, some rate him higher than Bastoni. I would disagree in that because Bastoni is my dream centre back. But look, if we got the stamp of approval from Jack and Nicky, I'm sure he'll be a good signing, of course. As Sergey says, Gvardiol will be top next season. Jack, put the link to your channel in the live chat. You're a mod now, so you can. Everyone make sure to go over and check out Jack's channel. Some fantastic analysis of Tottenham's transfer targets. More in-depth and better structure than you could ever get on this channel, I'll be honest. Poorhouse says, I don't have any problem with Davis being first choice left centre back, as he's done really well even with Wales, and that, to be honest, is a kind of feeling I have on this as well. Look, we'd love to get in a Bastoni or a Gvardiol or an Ndika or a main centre-back target that Conte and Paratici want, but Ben Davies was exceptional last season. Not even just how good he was playing with Wales, he was really, really good for Tottenham. He was the perfect player to slot into that role. I think without him, in the way that Conte likes to play, I'm not sure how good we would have been, to be honest, because you need 11 players in that structure, in that system, who are working to the best of the tactical sort of setups that Conte can put together in that team. So he was really, really important for us last season, and I wouldn't be scared having Ben Davies starting there next season. I wouldn't be upset, but it would be a dream, and it would make me a whole lot happier to have a better option there, I have to say. But Davies isn't a bad option, like Dyer isn't a bad option for next season as well. But like I said, I do kind of expect things to heat up in the next couple of days, to heat up in this week. Conte wants a couple of more signings done before we head off on international duty. I think players have been told to report back on the 10th of July to head out to Korea, which is a week yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully we'll see things heat up over the next week or so. And as always, this will be your number one place on YouTube to get your latest Tottenham transfer news, analysing the sources as well as the players that Tottenham could be looking to bring in. So please do hit that subscribe button down below if you do want more of that over the coming weeks and months. We've had nearly 2,000 people join us throughout this stream, which is a crazy number for an impromptu stream at 1 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. We only have 205 likes. So let's sort that out. Out of the 640 of you that are left watching, I'm sure we can get that number to 250. It always helps streamers so much when you hit that like button. It pushes it out to more and more people, and we get to build this community. We passed 15.2k subs on this stream as well, so thank you very much for that. Thank you to everyone new who has hit that subscribe button. But we will wrap it up there, and hopefully we will be back with some more transfer news today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, because I'm off work all week. So we'll definitely be streaming a lot with these latest updates. But look, from me for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.